Hi, this is Franz Cantor, cartoonist, illustrator and toon talker, and I'm here with...
Kim Bridges, and I'm the president of the Australian Cartoon Museum. Today we're doing the Simpsons Handbook.
Yeah.
And is this a ripper book?
Secret Tips from the Pros.
This is a good, beautiful...
Published by Harper.
Beautiful book.
Cloth spine bound. And what it is, right, it's based on a lot of the handout sheets or the Bible, the so-called Bible, the Bible of the animated show. All animated shows have a how to draw the characters so you can keep the characters on model.
On model.
This book came out 10
You mean
years
model
ago.
sheets?
Well, they're model sheets, but they're designed so that anybody can draw the character and keep it on model. So here's one of Matt Groening's little sketches of Bart. I'm slightly off model, man.
So he can't draw.
Yeah, and he's your pal, of course, Matt Groening.
Yeah.
He's the
Bulgy
creator.
eyeballs and freakish overbites. An introduction.
Yeah. So as with all animation books, you have like how to set up your studio. Number one, of course, is to use the left hand.
Yes, number one, that's
and,
right.
they've got pencils
Or
there.
hire
and
a
markers.
left-handed cartoonist.
Yeah, but they don't have any coloured pencils. We'll explore the idea of using the coloured pencils further on. I don't know why they didn't put that in the picture. How to set up your art studio.
Okay.
So here we go, straight into drawing the Simpsons. We start with Homer. Now, the idea behind this is to be able to draw anything, whether it be realistic characters or cartoon characters. You have to start with basic shapes. So basic shapes are geometrical solids. When you talk about a circle, it's a sphere. So the sphere has a direction. You know, that's why you can draw Homer at a 3/4 angle rather than front on or side on, which you can do. But thinking of the basic shapes that you use to construct Homer's head, those shapes themselves have a face, so you can see that it's got a center line.
Directional.
Yeah, directional lines. There's a lot of things to get the proportion correct and the style of the.
So when you sit there watching the show, it looks so simple. The drawings look too simple, and
well,
yet
every cartoon is deceptively simple.
Yes, yeah.
But there are little tricks here on what to think about, what object to think about when you're constructing his pear-shaped body, for example. It's not just a pear, but it's a beautiful symmetrical light bulb.
Yeah,
And
and
the
always
sleeves,
think
of course,
light
think
bulb.
of the
Yeah,
sleeves having volume.
Yeah.
That gives you the correct curve. You can
Yeah.
see they've actually drawn in the back curve
Yeah.
of the cup that they've used as an inspiration to design his sleeves.
The same with the pants, and the same with other things too.
Yeah, it's important when you everything is
hand.
in perspective. You can see the feet are in perspective, the eyes are in perspective. You know, so it's very important to use perspective in telling the story of a 2D character. Oftentimes, because it gives you the ability to put that character in a setting. So the setting obviously has perspective. We'll see that later on.
The pant cuff is about half as tall as Homer's eye.
These are proportional elements. You go back to the head. So the head is made up of how many eyes high? 1, 2, 3, 6 eyes high. 6 eyeballs high is the length of his.
Well,
What's more than the head is
Yeah,
it's
it's
5
more than the
eyeballs
head,
high
yeah.
plus the collar.
yeah.
Okay. So this represents the classic way of thinking of animation, where you do the pencil work underneath, which has sound construction lines. You can see the directionals here and the volume of everything, and then they have the cleanup, which hides all the pencil lines for the working out. These are the many moods of Homer. So oftentimes you get there's a similarity between each of the characters in the Simpsons TV show, but there are peculiar traits or expressions that are only Homer Simpson. So that's very, very important.
The eyes and the mouth.
Yeah, the wall-eyed
Yeah.
characteristic of Homer in various.
And he's the only one who gets
directions.
drunk.
Yeah. As far as I know, he's the only one that gets drunk.
As far as you know, yeah.
This is Homer in action, again based on simple shapes. So the reason of the shapes is so you can draw the character direction in 3 dimensions. So thinking of Homer based on simple shapes, so you can turn those simple shapes in space, gives you the ability to turn Homer around, because then you extrapolate or draw on top of the simple shapes all of the Homer details.
Band on the Run.
Yes. So point of view again is an exploration of the character in perspective, so you can see looking up at Homer's head and other areas where you're looking down on Homer's head. They haven't really given you many examples of that here.
It's interesting how he has teeth like this, but then generally you just see this, and yet there's no sharpness there. They're too soft. They're sharp. These are softer than these, and it's the same thing.
Drawing hands are very important because Homer has a particular way of holding certain Homer-esque objects like pizza slices and remote controls and hamburgers, donuts, of course. So there is a particular language of hands that is peculiar only to Homer Simpson in doing these things. Tying the tie, of course, things like that. Marge's head, again, you have to think of a very simple group of shapes which is used to construct her head on model, which means it looks like Marge Simpson from any angle. How can you draw it from any angle? You base it on simple shapes which you can then turn in space. This the reason for the 3 balls in her head is to keep a consistency in the thickness of her hair. Also designing her, where is it? The eyelashes?
It's not here. It's not here.
Okay, you get particular. There it is. There.
Yeah, we'll discuss it.
So constructing Marge's body has a particular gesture, which is a signature shape or pose. When she's in 3/4 view like this, this gives you the characteristic Marge Simpson posture.
Yeah, Marge's eyelashes radiate out from the vanishing point at the centre of the eye and are evenly spaced. So as you can see, they're not just anywhere like this. They actually all come into...
So even simple things like the thickness of Marge's top wrapping around her body is explained very, very detailed over here, so that you can get these little subtleties that are important in drawing Marge Simpson.
And the modelling of the character.
Yeah, well, it's creating a 3-dimensional feeling or look to the characters, even though they're 2-dimensional. They've got to fit into a fairly good, solid 3-dimensional world. When you see the backgrounds later on, you'll get that immediate feeling of placement.
And these are all the same. All these.
Well, there's a consistency with her design. But these are different moods. So you get again moods that are peculiar to Marge. Peculiar.
Yeah, but every time
character.
you draw her, she has to have the same amount of.
The same number of loops.
Yeah. That's right.
Well,
she's not.
You'll probably have to count them.
No, I'll do that. That's out of character, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. And selective. Perspective.
So looking up at Marge. There doesn't seem to be any looking down on Marge ones, but it's thinking of drawing the character out of simple shapes gives you the ability to put it into perspective. These are Marge hands. They're not for every other character. They're only for her. So a lot of these things she has that are to do with her. Picking on Maggie.
Even where the thumbs go.
Yeah. So the way that her feet bend and feet in shoes bend are worked out ahead of time, so that when you're animating, you're on a deadline. You just refer to these guide sheets. These model sheets, and they tell you what to do. So, okay, this might seem funny, right? But when you think of a can, you think of the consistency of the can, and that gives you the ability to draw Bart's head with the same sort of level of consistency from one to the other. Of course, the number of serrations in his hair are counted.
And also they have to be, they can't be too sharp or too puffy.
Yeah, there's also perspective on his lower head.
Yep.
So you can see that his mouth, especially when the mouth's open.
The eyes have to be in the right place.
Yeah, so there's a perspective involved.
Well, the underbite.
Yep. Drawing Bart's body, you can see the directional lines. So how the body is facing in space, even though it's 2D, it has a direction, so that you now can apply the laws of perspective to the elements.
And here's that thing again. You know, it doesn't go straight in. It shows the modelling.
Yeah.
He is wearing clothes.
So the little peculiarities on elements that have to be, you know, on for his shoes, for example, to give you the impression that they're Converse. Notes about the eyes, you know, things to worry about when you're putting the eyes at the top of the eyeball. The shape, the peculiar shape of the hair, you know, that it has a sort of a smoother curl than sharp points. Okay, so that gives it a particular characteristic. So each character, you know, is doesn't matter whether you're drawing Bugs Bunny or Barney Rubble, they all have character sheets like this.
I love the way the tongue comes up and then goes out again, like it's got a life of its own.
So drawing Bart in action, some of the problems that the animators have solved for you ahead of time, so that you're able to...
It'd take a long time to go from beginning the first sketch of something to work out all this sort of stuff. To work out all these sort of things, it'd take a long, long time.
Well, they've been in series for
28
years, so they've had a good chance to work out a lot of these
before you even
things.
Start, you need to have all these problems solved, don't you?
Yeah, well, even, you know, Bart Simpson's hands are, you know, they may look similar to the other characters, but they have certain peculiarities, like Bart using a slingshot, for example, which is a signature implement of Bart's.
And you're holding the phone with two hands.
Yeah, when he's making prank calls to the bar.
Yeah, or ringing
holding
up
or
ringing up our country and asking them, does the toilet water run one direction? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 every time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You have to have a consistency of all of the elements that create Lisa's head. You know, what expressions not to use are very important, as is the expressions to use, because you may come up with a solution for another character which you think, I'll use for Lisa. No, you won't, because that's nothing to do with Lisa's personality.
And of course, Lisa is, I think, the most important character in the whole show, because she is the conscience of the show.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how badly behaved everybody is, she has the ability to balance it.
Of the liberal
and you can get away with
of reason.
Well, you can get away with murder with the Simpsons, but she sort of has a balance to it, you know.
Again, you know, sound construction methods from simple shapes.
Yep.
You know, even sometimes to the level of curves and the direction of your pencil lines are helpful too.
Here are all the shapes of the head in different directions and expressions. And there's, as Fran said before, most of these expressions are just for her.
Just for Lisa. Yeah. See, peculiar expressions that are worked out for Lisa Simpson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playful.
Lisa in action. Again, peculiar to Lisa. These are personality traits of how she does things, how the artist draws her, you know, walking with a stack of books and an apple on top. So there's a lot of...
Lisa as a baby.
No,
she's just being a bit of a glamour shot there.
Yeah, but then not Lisa as a baby drawn like Maggie.
No.
Lisa as a baby.
A++. Yeah. That's definitely Lisa.
Lisa's the head in perspective at different angles, looking up.
And that'd be hard.
looking down.
Because they solved the problem by just showing the outside and the direction of that. So the rest of the shape, the modelling of the shape, you don't have to show.
Yeah, but even the number of points, from the side, because you can't continue the points, that looks like a mohawk. So
yeah, but that's only because of that drawing, that piece of pencil there. If you take out that pencil, it's fine.
Yeah. So the way that she holds remote controls or ice creams or, of course, animals or the saxophone or the cat.
Lisa with 2 A plus, 3. Look, 3 pluses.
A plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Here
Maggie?
we go with Maggie. Again, separate to Lisa.
Yes.
It's a different way of constructing her head. Let's see if we can compare Lisa's head construction with Maggie's head construction. If you go back a bit, you can see Lisa's head construction here. Compare it to Maggie's head construction. So it's different. So every character is a family of style that all the characters have to fit into, even the aliens, even God. But within that there is a separate solution to deriving it from the particular use of shapes, of simple shapes to get there.
Maggie's pacifier sucking style. So
yeah.
In, half out, out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're like notes to the
sucking
to timing
cycle.
the animation.
Yeah.
But the oftentimes you'll have some element in the drawing that they use as a measuring stick, a measuring device. In this case, with the Simpsons, they usually use the eyes as a way to measure it. So the head is like 1, 2, 3, 4, and a bit, 4 1/4 eyeballs high, from the collar to the point of her hair. Top point of her hair. Again, circles within circles. If you get these proportions right, this is how you derive at the character. And obviously, when you're using shapes, you're thinking of shapes with perspective. So there is a shape in that is a solid. So it's not a circle you're talking about. It's like a globe or a sphere.
The belly ball.
The sphere has an equator and a longitude. An axis gives you an axis so that you know the tilt and rotation of the object, and then you can apply those laws of perspective and tilt and rotation to the cartoon character that you layer on top of the shape.
I didn't know she had teeth.
Yeah, she gets angry. Yeah,
Maggie
so she's
in
got
motion.
like sort of a sweepy from Popeye effect with her nightie.
Yeah, a shot you don't normally see.
Yeah, looking up at Maggie, looking down at Maggie.
And of course, that's how Maggie holds a gun.
Yeah, when she shot Mr. Burns. So it's a way of her holding things like the lollipops, which are only to do with Maggie, or the dummy, which are only to do with Maggie, or the pacifier, etc. Grandpa, a different head shape to start with. Again, in perspective, so you can get all of the angles correct, and also the fact that the eyes, sometimes the eye in the closest to the camera is slightly bigger than the eye behind it.
And also the 4 points on the top of his hair.
Yeah. Everything is constructed from basic shapes.
He looks basically...
All cartoons are constructed this way. Doesn't matter whether it's something as sophisticated as Bugs Bunny or simplified as South Park character.
He looks a bit like a pineapple. What do you think?
Groundskeeper Willie, again, this is a wonderful
Slightly
character. Has a particular way of constructing his shapes.
Telling scary stories to kids.
Yeah. Some notes from the animators up there. So, publicity artist Julius Preet with further tips on drawing him. Another Simpsons artist. So this book typically, it's been released to the public, but this is used in-house. This This book would be used in-house to train
Secrets from the pros, folks.
Yeah. And doesn't matter whether you're working on the Simpsons show or products or comics or whatever, they all have to be on character, and this is how you do it. Again, Milhouse is slightly different approach to constructing the head from a simple shape, and of course he doesn't have eyeballs, he has like dots, so the missing whites of the eyes.
Well, he has them here. When he takes his glasses off, he doesn't have eyeballs.
Yeah. So even within the family of the Simpsons characters, cast of characters, there is a lot of variety. Witness the eyes of Mrs. Krabappel. They're not spheres. They're ellipses.
Isn't it crab apple?
They're called ellipses.
A crab apple for the teacher.
Ovals. Yeah.
Yeah. They've gone nuts here.
So Krusty the Clown has got a similar approach to drawing his face from a simple shape like Homer Simpson. Similar body shape, of course. With
there is
significant differences.
There is a reason. There is a reason why Krusty the Clown looks a little bit like his like Homer. And I don't know if it's deeply Freudian or
Sideshow Bob again. It's too easy to simplify and just do a shape. You've got to think of drawing the hair, the Rastafarian type hair, with particular arcs, particular curves, and think of it in terms of three-dimensional layering, so that if you have this object in mind, the palm tree, then you're able to think of these layers of Rastafarian hair pieces.
Except they don't do this stuff. The stuff coming towards you is not. It's only the side pieces, because that's what it looks
you're
like.
referring to three-dimensionality when you draw it. So there's a particular language of the hair. That looks like these are in front and those are behind. And
what do you think came first, Sideshow Bob or the Sydney Opera House? Lenny.
This is Lenny again. Look at that. It's seemingly
they're all different. They're all different. Shapes. They're all different. Yeah.
Is it different within the language of the Simpsons? Of course, they have a great deal of variety. So this is beautiful. Even the posture, the gesture of the pose, the gesture in animation is the line of action. But even when the character is in repose or seemingly standing still, it's in three-quarter shot. So it has an angle and a body language. Very, very important. Gesture also refers to body language, as well as much as the figure in extreme action.
Futurama.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. The cubic drawing will help you understand the angles on Carl's head.
Yeah. So these are little pointers to help you think about perspective.
Yeah, keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. Yeah. Mr. Burns.
Yeah, Mr. Burns again, a different, very, very different way of constructing the head of Mr. Burns.
Simpson, eh? That young firebrand. Mr. Burns.
See the more notes from the animators that help you think about Mr. Burns. How many age spots he's got, what are the curves, the angles of the curves, how his hands behave.
It's interesting about the yellow, the Simpsons are in yellow.
Yeah, the primary colours came from the original days of the Simpsons when they were on the Tracy Ullman show.
Oh, I'm just thinking it's like when you go back to this page, it just reminds me a bit of American children's illustrations in books, and also, if not even Dr. Seuss for some reason, the colour. Ned Flanders.
Yep.
No crucifixes here.
Yep.
Ooh, wrapped around the forehead.
So just little reminders to include perspective, because he's wearing glasses, obviously. You can see by the line there. So they're not visible from certain angles, but from other angles they are visible. So always remember to keep them there.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Because you never see him without his glasses.
Yeah, Ralph Wiggum, another totally different head shape, but within the family of the Simpsons style. And of course, that shape is conceived three-dimensionally. So you've got the angle, the the axis and the angle and the tilt, the perspective of the object itself.
And his hair, no one's hair comes from a single point, but that actually helps the modelling of the character of the head, doesn't it?
Well, it gives it an illusion of three-dimensionality in a two-dimensional space.
Yeah, and it's also a joke. It's also a visual joke on how to draw hair.
Yeah. Mo Sislak is, another very, very
You know his surname?
character.
You know his surname?
Yeah. So like Mr. Burns, he's quite an ugly character.
Yep.
Right? So that adds incredible amount of variety to the show. And, and gives you these beautiful... He's got like a Ralph Wiggum's piggy nose over here, which is just incredible, just really fun. Kang was an addition from the Treehouse of Horror. He's green, as you can see. So I don't know whether Mike Wazowski came before him or he came before Mike Wazowski. But it's a traditional thing to have one-eyed monsters with, green slimy space creatures.
Think of a cartilage-like bone structure. The single cyclopean eye fits into a cavernous socket.
Yeah, just little notes on how to draw it so that it looks like it fits in there properly. How to draw the tentacles properly. How to draw the eyes. It's a single eye. How do you make the eye? How do you make the eye look sad? Well, you've created these artificial brows, double brows. So there's a perfect example of problem solving by an animator, and included in the model sheet for you. Model sheets tend to grow in a production as more solutions to problems come up. Here's a comic book guy.
Yeah, I hate this character. My kids say that I'm the comic book guy.
But you can see how it's created out of simple shapes, and he's in perspective, perfect perspective. So you're able to see an impression of him in a three-dimensional space.
And the shorthand of the facial beard is very interesting.
Yeah,
it's just so simple.
Yeah, he reminds me of Bluto.
Yeah, but he's a bit more cynical. Otto.
There's Otto, another great character.
The coolest dude in the Simpsons.
Yeah, he's a signature gesture. These curved lines, of course, are indicative of the gesture of the poses.
Who came first, the great Lebowski or Otto? It's a lovely drawing, isn't it? Simpson, eh?
I forget the cat's name, but the Santa's Little Helper is based on a real dog. So you can see, even though it's been created from simple shapes, it has signature geometry, signature anatomy, indicators of anatomy, which are based on a real dog.
Yeah.
So less so with the cat,
yes.
I suppose.
Well, even look at the ears. Like there's the block, and then it's got so you've just.
Yeah, these are designed to help you draw the character, the cat on character.
But you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have that on other basic drawing books on how to draw cats. You just wouldn't have that image. And it's to do with modelling. It's to do with making it work.
Yeah.
In the round. Nelson's the bully.
Yeah.
And all bullies punch people in the guts. Here he is here.
These are notes done by one of the animators of...
there he is. That's
Nelson.
Rob Oliver. Yeah. And here he is...
merchandise artists. A lot of these, again, being used by the animators and merchandise
giving Milhouse
artists
a wedgie.
Comic book artists. So all of the characters across the different mediums are all the same.
Itchy and scratchy.
Which is the hallmark of Disney and Warner Brothers and Barbera.
That's right, and they're the Disney hands because they're classic cartoon characters.
Yeah, these are like opera gloves.
Yeah, the gloves, yeah.
No one knows where they came from or why. They just happened.
Yes. Apu.
This is Apu again, a different construction method, different shapes, slightly different shapes, but within the Simpsons family. You can see that the eye closest to the camera is slightly bigger than the one furthest away.
Well, here goes to the eye.
Which indicates...
All those things would help with the storytelling.
Their proportion.
Yeah, but that also help with the storytelling process, surely, where your eye follows.
Yeah, well, there's a lot... When you design something, you put in elements of balance and things.
Yeah.
So here we go into Principal Skinner, which is, again, another example. There's another solution on how to draw his hair. Okay. Simple construction methods, again with the signature or the telltale sign of perspective.
Skinner's hair can be tough to draw. Sketching a square at an angle off the ball of his skull and then round it off. This will help establish the basic shape.
So you get the right volumes. Police Chief Wiggum, again with the piggy little nose. There, when you draw of him, you think of a round circle. What's round? Donuts. So they put these little joke elements in the construction sheet.
Even his head's a donuts.
Chief Wiggum, so you can get the volume of his.
There he is. He's a donut shooting, and here's a donut running.
Yeah, different expressions around the piggy nose again.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
And even without a hat. Patty and Selma.
Yep. So how to draw Patty and Selma? They're very similar, but they have
you do the circles and then just
how to construct their
and then put the curls in. Okay. Yep. We didn't.
These are relationship charts.
Yes.
This is what they call like a cast call, so you can see each character in relation to each other, and in terms of style of size, and also body language.
I didn't realise Kang was so big.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So we've got some costume design examples for different adventures, so that they're problems that are solved by animators in various shows, that they're documented and they're put for further use. So whenever Homer goes fishing, there's a fishing outfit.
Yep. Store it away there.
Store it away there. When he's a Santa, he's a Santa outfit.
They're lovely, aren't they?
So they're all for all different shows that they've used. If he ever comes up as a fool again, there he is as a fool.
How to put Y fronts on a circle.
Yeah, Sunday Best. There's Sunday Best.
Yeah, because the hair's slicked down.
His hair's
he's
bent.
got looks like he's
with hair cream or something, or water, or his mother's saliva.
Yeah, you remember that, do you?
Yeah. So the Simpsons, backgrounds are very, very important because they establish the world and they're in perspective. So that even within the stylization of a lot of the elements that are designed, they're based on real life. They're referencing real life, elements like the cookie jars.
Cracks in the wall, real life elements.
Well, not so much that, but the spice racks and other little bits and pieces that tell you a story, because the backgrounds are very important in what they put in.
They also tell you about the characters.
Yeah. But they supply. You can see there's the vanishing point here of the horizon. All of the elements are designed with perspective. Sometimes the perspective is exaggerated, as you'll see in some of the other elements, but most of them in turn, that's a very 80s one. Most of them have a very solid grounding in perspective, so that helps with when the characters are in perspective and the characters are in the scene, it gives a very real world look to the or solidity, impression of solidity and three-dimensionality. So here you have a lot of some of the drawings are done with tones, so that you can get a good impression of the textures to be used in the show, even though sometimes they could be ignored or simplified even further. This gives you a good sort of mood, a good handle on a mood that you're looking for. So different perspectives. This is a quickie mart. Never actually seen it in this look. This is more like the camera's point of view, the burglar camera. Never seen Bart's classroom in this perspective. This looks like a single point perspective, so you can see the vanishing point is outside the page. It's quite close to it. That's why you get this fisheye effect.
I must learn perspective. I must learn perspective. I must learn perspective.
Yeah. So everything is kind of designed and simplified for the show. Sometimes perspective is bent or distorted or flattened, so you can get a good idea of what these dials and things are.
No one believes that he understands this stuff.
Well, it's funny you should say that. That's actually based on a real console.
Yeah.
In a
but no one
I think it was Chernobyl or someplace.
Yeah, but no one believes that that Homer could actually work it.
So a lot of other elements are designed and created as props, but they're based on real life.
Lard Lad, donuts.
Yep.
Homer.
So look at that. That's a beautiful drawing of a Simpsons fridge. Too much detail in there, obviously, for the show, but this gives you a beautiful idea of the amount
does stand out
of background homework that the artist would go through to produce something for the show as a scene, as a background, or indeed a prop. This is more to do with the ancient world of animation, how it used to be done. So you basically you construct everything out of very simple shapes, then you add the details, still with the drawing underneath of the simple shapes, right? So you're able to draw with all of the lessons that you've learned in the front of this book. You're able to draw this scene, and then from that, of course, you go into cleanup, which means just that you clean up the pencil with a pen or a black pencil on a new piece of paper or on the same piece of paper and drop it out digitally. And the final thing, in this case, it's more like the olden days of cell painting, where you'd have the ink line reproduced on cellophane, this cellulose plastic, and you would paint the back in animation colors.
But my favourite drawing in the whole book is this. Beautiful.
Yeah, because it looks so accessible. Anybody, you look at that and you say, "Oh, I can draw a sphere. I can draw a tube. I can draw these things. I can draw a box." And of course, you can. So this is your entry into the world of The Simpsons by simplifying it, Simpsonizing it.
Yeah, well, that's it, folks. He's just dropped his DAX. And there's the end papers, which are really nice.
It is. Is there anything on the back?
No, I don't think so. Oh, yes.
Yeah, just some notes.
Yeah.
And a squishy.
From basic lines and circles to vivid character illustration.
That's great. Okay. All right. Well, this is Franz Cantor.
And this book's still around, so check it out.
Yeah.
This is Jim Bridges saying see you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.